Deadpool proved to us that putting Ryan Reynolds into a comic book movie is surefire gold. X-Men Origins Wolverine, Blade Trinity and Green Lantern proved that it wasn't always that way. But rest assured, geekdom, we're here to prove to you that R.I.P.D is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies. Now, I am admittedly, a self-professed geek. If it's a superhero movie, I'm going to watch it. If it comes from a graphic novel, I'm going to watch it probably. That's not always a good thing. And in this case, it's kind of like a mixed grab bag here because we are talking about 2013's R.I.P.D, the Rest in Peace Department. And here is my very peaceful wife, Carrie. How are you doing today?
Oh, I don't think I've ever been called peaceful before.
There's a first time for everything.
Wow, I'm truly shocked.
Well, at least I went with the P or the peace part of that. It's not really restful, wife.
I would like to be. How do I subscribe to that lifestyle?
Right? And you're not my departmental wife, so that's okay. Just digging myself a hole here. So, Carrie, when we sat down and I said, hey, here's a list of a bunch of movies, which one sounds like fun? You picked R.I.P.D. How quickly thereafter did you regret your life choice at that point?
No. I picked Ryan Reynolds. Yes, I did.
Little do our viewers know what else was on the list.
I picked Deadpool. Well, no spoilers because
no,
then we can revisit the list.
I was about to say that list may come into play somewhere down the road, but it was one of those things where it's like, yeah, let's just grab something off of streaming that actually qualifies. And I made a list of 4 films, and this was one of the ones that was on there. Carrie's like, oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds can't be that bad, right? And here we are.
I've seen Green Lantern.
I said I was sorry.
I had to try and defend it or place it.
I feel like we now need to do the Ryan Reynolds grading on a curve episode.
Right? Oh. Well, it's like I said, every actor has the one movie that they just don't want to ever live up to. They just don't want anyone to see, like dig that one into the crates,
But even still, though, it's okay to say there's that one film in everyone's filmography that they just kind of shake their head and go, man, I wish that turned out better. But I don't know if there's, a shameful movie. Okay, in some cases there is a shameful movie in some people's filmography, let's be honest, but...
Isn't that why we're here?
For the most part, yes.
But we always find the good. Now, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is it R.I.P.D. or is it the R.I.P.D department?
I had Jeff Bridges in it, so it's not necessarily the R.I.P.D department.
Well, it had Kevin Bacon.
No, Kevin Bacon was a part of that. He was a cop, but he wasn't part of the R.I.P.D.
Well, no, but he was in the movie.
He was in the movie, but he wasn't ripped.
Well, he's Kevin Bacon.
He's Kevin Bacon.
He's Kevin Bacon. Of course he's ripped.
To quote Cosmo, we love you, Kevin Bacon. But before we go down this road, it is time to take this comic book movie adaptation and trailerize it.
The world is threatened by ghoulish creatures bent on using a device to destroy the world as we know it. And the only thing stopping them is a rookie cop who must team up with an aged, cantankerous veteran. Together, they will stop the monstrous beast and save the day. Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges star in a comic book adaptation that definitely is not Men in Black. It's R.I.P.D, a film that takes the character arc of Deadpool, but takes out all the laughs, and teams him up with a character best described as Kirkland Brand Sam Elliott, but funny, and tries to prove it's different by doing everything every other comic book movie does, complete with a sky beam. R.I.P.D, rated PG-13 for post-Green Lantern.
Okay, can I just say I absolutely love that you paralleled Men in Black because as I was watching it, I was like, okay, there are huge similarities. Is there a connection? Like, you're saying it's a comic book movie.
Yeah, so this was taken from the Dark Horse comic book series.
Any connection, though, to Men in Black?
I think it's just, I can't remember which company put out Men in Black. I don't know if it was Dark Horse or not, but I don't think they are actually connected. I think it's just a seemingly eerie parallel. But I mean, that's like saying, Homelander is akin to Superman, when you're comparing the boys to the DC universe. There's a lot of similarities, but they're not connected.
Okay, because I admit I was waiting for, the little flash to strip everyone's memory at the end of the...
Wait. Were you hoping for that in the movie, or were you hoping for me to pull one out so you could forget ever having watched this film?
Yes.
It can be both.
No, you know what? This movie was... It was cute. It was, you know what? Put your brain on vacation for 2 hours and don't expect much because that's what you'll get. But
go in with low expectations.
Yes.
All right, so let's figure out who's in this film. It stars Ryan Reynolds, Jeff Bridges, Mary Louise Parker, Kevin Bacon, Stephanie Shostak. I hope I got your name right. If I didn't, I'm sorry. I apologize. James Hong, and it's the film debut of supermodel Marissa Miller. It was directed by Robert Schwenk, who was also the director for G.I. Joe Snake Eyes, R.I.P.D, Flight Plan, Insurgent, and Allegiance, both of those from the Divergent movies. Now, there's an almost starring in this film. In the role of Roy, as played by Jeff Bridges, it was originally cast as Zach Galifianakis from The Hangover.
No.
And he apparently had to step away due to scheduling conflicts. Now, I'm having a real hard time picturing Zach Galifianakis in that role.
Yes. Because no. You know what? He's okay, but not. No, Jeff Bridges was so good. He literally made the movie. He was so good.
I mean, here's the thing, and not to poo-poo on Zach Galifianakis here. I'm sure that's in another Hangover movie. But in the movie, Roy is supposed to be, the funny guy of the duo, right? And if that's the case, I could see why they would cast Zach Galifianakis in this. But the way it was played, I can't see Zach Galifianakis doing that.
Now, would they have had the overdone accent in the same role? Because I think Jeff Bridges needed to be the one to pull that off.
You kind of have to, because, if you're taking that from the comic book, you can't completely diverge from what the comic book does. Now, it needs to be said that neither of us have ever read the R.I.P.D comic book series, ever.
I like to call it ripped.
Well, we'll have to check the comic book afterwards to see if anyone in there is ripped, or at least ripped apart. One of the two.
There was a lot of people ripped apart.
There were, but they were dead anyways. It's okay.
People, monsters, yeah.
But there was also another almost starring in this. In the role of Proctor, as played by Mary Louise Parker, they were considering Jodie Foster for that role. No,
because she was so good.
I mean, Mary Louise Parker was good, but hear me out on this one here. Mary Louise Parker would have worked if it was Zach Galifianakis. Jodie Foster could have worked alongside Jeff Bridges. I think Mary Louise Parker was still the better choice, but I just don't. Yeah, I have thoughts.
I agree. You know what? I just think she was so incredibly commanding. Like, she owned the scenes that she was in.
But in a quirky, fun way.
Oh, but I know, but she was so good.
Here's the thing. I don't know, and I'm sure she could, because Jodie Foster is a phenomenal actress. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if Jodie Foster could pull off the quirky fun that Mary Louise Parker did.
No, I don't think so.
If this was a serious movie, Jodie Foster for sure in that role. But it was quirky fun. So you had to go with Mary Louise Parker. That's my opinion there.
You know who would have been great, though?
Who?
Help me out with the name. Gamora. Zoe Saldana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could picture that.
Yes. And I say that because of the terminal. Her role in the terminal as the airport security.
I'm going to throw another option in there for you.
Okay.
Alex Kingston, who is probably most famous for playing River Song in Doctor Who.
Yes, but...
Now, that's playing against Jeff Bridges, not against Zach Galifianakis.
I mean, hey, if you want to, really think about it, Amy Pond.
Oh, Karen Gillan.
Karen Gillan, of course. Because Karen Gillan plays so incredibly deadpan in The Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, and Karen Gillan's a comedic genius. That's all I'm going to say.
She is so great.
Right?
She's so great.
Now, here's the weight on this film. This film had a budget, according to IMDb, of $130 million.
And I think they blew it all in that one scene where he first transitioned from the real world to the underworld. Is it an underworld?
No. It's just they're still on Earth.
It's an altered reality, though.
Yeah, it's kind of like a way station.
And nobody looks like you would think.
Here's the thing, though. Domestically, it only grossed $33.6 million with a worldwide gross of $78 million. When it debuted on the July 19th, 2013 weekend, this was one of 4 major films that were debuting. This film, R.I.P.D, debuted at number 7. Now, it should be noted here. Hear me out here, okay? Debuting at number 1 with a take of almost 42 million, it was like 41.8.5 million, was The Conjuring. At number 3, it was Turbo with 21.3 million, which Turbo was just fun.
It was so cute.
I still think the Turbo series on Netflix was better than the movie, but it was still fun. At number 5 was R.I.P.D 2, scattered in there. Whereas, Despicable Me 2 was sitting at number 2, Grown Ups 2 was at number 4, and Pacific Rim was at number 6. R.I.P.D debuted at number 7 with $12.69 million. Now, here's the funny thing, too. You take a look at who's in this film. In R.I.P.D 2, which debuted at number 5, was also Mary Louise Parker. And at number 3 was Turbo, where the voice of Turbo is Ryan Reynolds. So you literally had the cast of R.I.P.D doing better in their debuts in other films that same weekend. Also, kudos to Ryan Reynolds for debuting in 2 movies in the same weekend. That's either brilliant timing or piss poor timing. One of the two. However, the reason why we are here is the critic score. Over at Metacritic, this film has a Metascore of 25, and over at Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score sits at 38%, while the tomatometer sits at a measly, meager, anemic 12%. For a comic book film to sit at 12% in the year 2013, that's not good.
That's harsh. However, I mean, it's not a known comic book franchise or property.
Okay, but there are movies that came out based on comic books or graphic novels that people didn't even know they were based on graphic novels. And this would be one of them. This would be one of them. I've watched the movie and I'm literally finding out today that it's a comic book property. But so look at a movie like Ghost World, which is, yes, based on a comic book. Yeah. Right? Fared much better than this.
That's shocking.
I would be curious, and I don't know the exact critic score off the top of my head. I'd be curious if a movie like My Super Ex-Girlfriend did better than this. Not that that was based off a comic book, but it was still in that genre. Where
does this place in Ryan Reynolds' filmography, though? Is this pre-Deadpool?
Yeah, this is pre-Deadpool. And let me put it in perspective. Like, this is, yes, it's pre-Deadpool because I think that came out in 2016.
Is it post-Green Lantern?
This is post-Green Lantern. This is post-Blade Trinity. This is before, like, the Renaissance, if you will.
I like that.
The Ryan Reynolds.
Ooh.
Right? Hashtag copyright. Yeah. Ryan Reynolds.
He can buy that from you.
Exactly, right? If that phrase ends up in a Ryan Reynolds produced ad, I want money.
I'm going to call Hugh Jackman.
I'm calling Blake Lively.
I'm getting
Blake.
Right?
Ryan stole my word. Ryan Renaissance was mine. Give me my money. But yeah, no, this is before like Ryan Reynolds literally exploded. Not literally exploded, but
I think he did.
Well, in this movie, maybe? Yeah. I don't know. I know he got hit by a car a few times. Yeah. By the way, spoilers like a mofo in this one. But let's get to the breakdown. Let's start with the Ryan Renaissance as it is. Ryan Reynolds as Nick. How was he for you?
He was great. You know what? He's always great. And I think whichever movie he's in, he is consistently great.
I'm going to argue.
You're going to argue with me.
I'm going to argue on this one. Now, normally, I would agree with you that Ryan Reynolds is pure gold. You know, more often than not when he's put into a film. However, this film committed a cardinal sin.
Oh?
You have someone who is a comedic genius like Ryan Reynolds. And that is indisputable. You can't argue that he isn't funny. Everything he does, and it's that Ryan Reynolds wit that comes across in a lot of his roles, and even the films that don't deserve to be, you know, he makes films better. Even when the rest of the film sucks, he makes films better. But you put him in a role in a film with the space to be Ryan Reynolds funny, and you make him the mopey serious guy.
Well, he died.
Okay.
I mean, he misses his life. He just wanted one more chance to do was it the boop or the chin pinch?
The chin pinch, yeah.
The chin pinch to his wife.
No, and I get that Nick is
he wanted
coping.
To plant tomato plants.
He's coping with the immediacy of his death. I get that. He's coping with the realization that his actions directly led to his death, which led to his wife becoming a widow.
Oh, hold up. And spoilers like a mofo. So that's my discllaimer right now.
I already said spoilers like a mofo earlier.
It was his best friend.
Right?
His partner. That
dun, dun, dun.
Kevin Bacon. It was Kevin Bacon's, fault that he came to his demise.
Okay, but he was also involved in the heist that led to him having this change of heart in what he was doing, which led Kevin Bacon to shoot him because he didn't want him to rat him out.
Still.
So, by the way, if you really wanted to watch R.I.P.D. and now you're listening to this going, well, what am I going to do now? Sorry.
Oh, watch it.
You were warned.
There's so much more.
By the way, I am going to get a line of shirts for us now that just says spoilers like a mofo. that should literally be our merch right now. Spoilers like a mofo.
You were warned. I want my Very Carey movie shirt.
Which would you wear first? A Very Carey movie or spoilers like a mofo?
Why not both? Front and back.
Yeah, but I recognize that this film is pre-Deadpool. I do. I get it. And this film, this is before Deadpool proved that you could do a funny R-rated comic book film and have it do very well. The Crow proved that you can do an R-rated comic book film and have it work.
I found that this one was very similar to his role in the Adam Project, where he was funny, yet he was way restrained. He was, again, he's dealing with some really heavy shit, and so the humor's still there.
The thing with the Adam Project, though, is that it still leaned on his wit. And the fact that the kid that they got to play his younger self also matched that wit. By the way, that kid is now going to be in the remake of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. So that career is going off very well. But the thing is, even in a movie like Waiting, which came out before this, right? Ryan Reynolds proved that his comedy can help elevate any kind of film. The whole tone of this film.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think it was his comedy. I think it was his look. I think Waiting, he got by on his charisma.
Yeah, and his wit. And his lines.
More his smile. No, I'm serious. You know, it was more, he knew that he knew he was good looking, right? And it was more like he knew his role and his charm. And that's what he used to get by in that movie. Whereas this one, it's like he wasn't meant to be the overly charming. He wasn't meant to be overly funny, like in Free Guy. He was, I think, what I like about it is, if anything, it might just be Ryan Reynolds.
Maybe it's because we're looking at this through like the hindsight lens, in that we know what Ryan Reynolds can do with a movie like Deadpool or with a movie like Free Guy. We know that when he is completely unleashed when it comes to, you know, his wit and his humor. And I recognize that he had a lot to do with, you know, the ad-libbing, and some of the one-liners are just, you know, kind of things that are done on set and, you know, potentially in rewrites. I don't think he had really anything to do as far as the dialogue of Nick in this character, and it shows. If you have someone who is as off-the-cuff funny and smart as Ryan Reynolds is, you know, lean into that.
Do you think that was its demise as far as the critic score?
Well, I mean, there's more to it. Like, there's a massive plot hole when it comes to Nick. Massive. Okay, so
Spoilers
like a mofo. Okay.
Spoiler alert.
So the whole movie starts with Nick burying these pieces of gold that he got from this heist or whatever that he did with Kevin Bacon. And, you know, this is his portion of it. But if Kevin Bacon's end goal is to give all the gold to these deados, by the way, the monsters are actually dead people who have not crossed over yet. If the goal is to give all the gold to the deados to create this monolithic thing so they can open up the portal and bring all the dead people back down to Earth, why did Kevin Bacon let him have those pieces of gold as a souvenir to begin with if they were needed to be put into this thing? Like,
because he knew he was going to oof him.
No, he didn't. He did not.
The
only reason he killed him is because Nick said that he was going straight. He was out.
He knew it was inevitable.
It's a plot hole. It's a needless plot point.
No, I think it was assumed.
No, it's not assumed.
It was assumed.
What? Here's the thing. I'm just saying, like, if this was the heist, help him get the gold. Don't worry, you'll get your cut later.
Why do you think he kept such close tabs with the wife, the family? He wanted to know his every move, so he would wait for the right time and oof him. Yes.
Yeah. No.
Motive.
It's an ugly plot hole in my opinion.
Because what is he going to do? Where's the motive for them to be partners? Otherwise, show him the money.
Maybe because he needs a patsy. I don't know. But I mean, Nick didn't say he was going straight until after the heist. So why did he have the gold before saying he was going to go clean? It's a needlessly messy plot point. That's just my opinion on that one. But I mean, here's the thing. Even if you didn't know that Deadpool was going to prove that R-rated movies could be funny when it comes to comic book movies, Will Smith proved it in Men in Black, that when you have this kind of setup and you let Will Smith all over the place, it worked in that film. You know what you had with Ryan Reynolds. You had it in Van Wilder. You had it in Waiting. You have copious examples of Ryan Reynolds being genuinely funny. And if he's the only mopey one in the film, that's not good.
See, I love that you paralleled, once again, Men in Black, because I really think there was a role reversal where Ryan Reynolds was the more deadpan and Jeff Bridges was almost like you left the, leave the mic open for Jeff Bridges to play because he was having so much fun. Whereas in Men in Black, Will Smith was the comedy.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee Jones was the cantankerous.
Yes. Where, at first when I saw the setup, I'm like, okay, this is like Men in Black, but not. So that, Jeff Bridges is going to be the cranky. No, he wasn't. He was funny. He was amazing. Mm-hmm. So again, it was almost that shift. And
again, like I said, this is probably just looking at this movie through the hindsight lens and saying, okay, Ryan Reynolds is funny, but here's a movie that everyone else is funny but him. And that's probably why it doesn't work for me now, 10 years later.
Okay.
But let's talk about Jeff Bridges as Roy.
I loved him. Loved him. Oh, my God. He didn't even have to say anything, but when he did, goddamn, he was funny.
Right? And again, speaking of someone who is naturally funny and has a good wit about them, Jeff Bridges knows how to drop a one-liner like there's no tomorrow. For the record, there's this sit-down interview, right? And it's Pedro Pascal and a few other actors, and Pedro Pascal's talking about this game, The Last of Us, which of course is, the latest show that he was in is based off that video game. He was saying he tried to get into the game and he couldn't do it. He just couldn't get into it. And Jeff Bridges is like, yeah, I remember I got sucked into a video game once. And, everyone's like, well, what was it? And Jeff Bridges is like, well, Tron. Just straight deadpan, right? It's like the perfect setup for a joke. And he's like, Tron. I was like, yes. Also, frickin' Tron. But Jeff Bridges, it really did feel like if someone gave Sam Elliott laughing gas.
Oh my God.
You're trying to picture Ghost Rider now. I broke Carrie. I have literally broken Carrie. She can't continue. Well, it's been fun. It's not that bad. Thank you, everyone. I have literally broken Carrie. Her face is changing color. I feel like I should be doing play-by-play right now. Clearly, I gave Carrie the same laughing gas that someone gave Sam Elliott to get the Jeff Bridges role in this.
Thank God this is not live. It's videotaped. Oh my God.
Please send your condolences to Not That Badcast on Twitter or our website at notthatbadcast.com.
I'm ripped.
Rest in peace, Carrie, on this one here.
Oh my God.
But it's true though. And you can't, if you go back and watch this film now, you're not going to be able to unsee that. You're also going to go back and watch all Sam Elliott films and think Jeff Bridges would make this so much funnier. A Star is Born, and all of a sudden you got this cantankerous manager going like, Roadhouse, Ghost Rider.
Oh my God.
Everything's much funnier with that in it. You gonna be okay?
Wow.
You can breathe now?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, so Carrie's back now on the show, hopefully in one piece. I think I've completely broken her now.
I have tears. For the record, I'm now crying.
But the thing is, Jeff Bridges as Roy really sets the tone for the film that everyone else needs to keep up to.
Oh my God, he was everything. Again, I could not picture any other actor in that role. Sorry.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
Or Zach Galifianakis.
Yes.
Yeah, no. And that's the thing. Jeff Bridges, complete with mustache and cowboy hat, just brings, it's funny cantankerous.
Oh, and don't forget his sick flow. His hair was on point.
I don't know Jeff Bridges' age, but I like to think that my flow is as sick as his in this movie.
He was hilarious too when he would flip back and forth from the woman, like when the guy tried to hit on him. Oh my God, he was so funny.
Right. Which for the record, his avatar is played by Victoria's Secret supermodel Marissa Miller. And the scenes where he's sitting there going, "You need to respect me as a woman," and like you're seeing Jeff Bridges as Jeff Bridges saying that, it was brilliant.
It was so funny.
Mary Louise Parker as Proctor in this. We talked about how she was probably a better choice than Jodie Foster for this, but how was she for you?
She was so great. She was so great. Like I was literally watching her to wait for that moment, right? For her to break character, and she never did. Mm-hmm. She just was perfectly deadpan, even when, like, even the more tender moments or where she's showing her kinder side, she was still like completely even keel, never, ever, ever broke character. Mm-hmm. And I just loved her. She was so great.
I mean, she proved with R.I.P.D, just how good she is in an ensemble comedy, playing alongside, Morgan Freeman and John Malkovich and Bruce Willis, and Helen Mirren. Like, that's a stacked cast. And Mary Louise Parker, stood out amongst that cast as being phenomenal. Here, she does the same thing. Now, that being said, if this film is done today, yes, you could still put Mary Louise Parker in there. Jodie Whittaker in that role would be brilliant. Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to get every Doctor Who actor into R.I.P.D. apparently. Redo it with all the Doctor Who actors.
Oh, can we get David Tennant in there?
Oh,
he would be so great.
As Kevin Bacon's character?
Ooh.
Right?
I was kind of thinking of Ryan Reynolds' character.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe. Yeah. Or, hear me out, David Tennant as Ryan Reynolds' character, but his avatar looks like Michael Sheen.
I mean, of course.
Right?
Clearly. But no, actually, I think you're right that if he were to play Kevin Bacon's, like, kind of evil
Michael
character.
Sheen would make a great Roy, too.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Again, we stand staged on this show. But yeah, no, Mary Louise Parker was just so much fun with this. The only thing I will say is that I didn't buy the chemistry between Roy and Proctor. This is where I think Jodie Foster would have made a better Proctor against Jeff Bridges, and Mary Louise Parker made sense against Zach Galifianakis.
I don't know. I think I disagree. I thought she was great.
Oh, I'm not saying she wasn't great. I'm just saying the two of them, sometimes when you see like a couple on screen that used to be a couple or are supposed to be a couple, and you're not quite sure how those two characters got together.
Yes, that was the Immaculate Room.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
Yeah, we spent 2 hours trying to believe they were a couple.
Yes. By the way, go back and listen to the Immaculate Room, please. Yeah, we're just going to rep all of our episodes here, while at the same time while trying to get everyone from Doctor Who and staged on. Yes. I'm down with that. Kevin Bacon as Hayes.
He was great. You know what? I'm very disappointed, though. I'm disappointed.
Why are you disappointed?
Because I wanted him to be the good guy, and he turned out to be a baddie.
Okay, I get you love Kevin Bacon. We all love Kevin Bacon.
I really wanted him to be a good guy.
Kevin Bacon was good for half of this film. And that's my personal opinion. Before the reveal that he's a deado, he's brilliant. He's perfect in that role. Right? Because you don't expect Kevin Bacon, of all people, to be the dirty cop. I mean, okay, maybe if you saw Hollow Man, you could picture it, but, otherwise, Kevin Bacon as the bad guy is not normally the role he gets to play, but he kills it. The minute it's revealed that he's a deado and all the special effects comes in taking place, it feels too campy for him.
I agree. But what if he were to have swapped roles with Jeff Bridges, and if Jeff Bridges were the baddie?
Oh my God. If Kevin Bacon was Roy, giddy up. But then we wouldn't get Sam Elliott on Laughing Gas. Stephanie Shostak, and again, I do apologize if I got your name wrong there, as Julia, who was Nick's wife/widow.
Is she in anything else? Is this like a one-off for her? I don't recognize her, and that was kind of the intriguing point. Is in a cast of phenomenal actors. I mean, she held her own. There's no disrespect to what I'm saying, but I did not recognize her.
I will agree that they didn't give her much to work with. It's a very, it's not the meatiest of roles, right? It's very much pretty girl who has to sit there and mourn for her dead husband until, of course, she gets, killed. That's it. By the way, spoilers like a mofo. To answer your question there, she's been in quite a few things. She's been in at least an episode of The Blacklist. She was in Gimme Shelter. She was in Iron Man 3. She was in We Bought a Zoo. So she has roles in notable films and TV shows.
But is this like her first major movie?
No, God, no. No, I mean, 2006, she was in The Devil Wears Prada with Jacqueline Follett, or as Jacqueline Follett. She was in an episode of The Sopranos. So again, there's a bunch of things that she has been in that just haven't been the biggest of roles. But the thing is, this isn't necessarily a big role, even though it is in a big film.
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe the fact that she was a little bit more understated as opposed to, I mean, she's up against, again, incredible talent, right? I mean, it was fine. I don't think that I would have replaced her.
Oh no, I mean,
with anyone.
I mean, the problem is I wouldn't have replaced her with anyone, but the thing is, you could have replaced her with anyone, and that's the problem with it. Yes,
and I see what you're saying. That is kind of the sad thing about it, is that, it could have been really any actress.
Yeah, and I mean, let's go back to Deadpool, because, again, another Ryan Reynolds film. But you take a look at Miranda Baccarin, who played Vanessa, Wade Wilson's wife in this, girlfriend or whatever, before he becomes Deadpool. That's a meaty role. Vanessa had things to do rather than just be a damsel. She humanized Deadpool. Unfortunately, Julia doesn't humanize, I guess a little bit, but in a very just being pined for way.
I disagree. Now, first of all, she was unknowing of, obviously, their criminal activities.
Right.
Right? So she was just a cop's wife, But they didn't really delve into, I mean, aside from the fact that she's a runner, which is great.
Yeah.
They didn't really delve into her, her life story, right? What she does for a living, but it wasn't necessary. She's a police officer's widow.
Well, I think more to the point, take out the, what she is and, really look at what she symbolizes. She's not necessarily a character. She's a manifestation of Nick's guilt and regret, and that's it. So, I mean, I get, and again, we got the spoilers here, the whole thing with this device that's going to open the gate so that the deados can come back to Earth and kind of take over the planet, it needs a human sacrifice. So, of course, Hayes gets Julia, stabs her with a pole kind of thing. So she's bleeding out into this thing, which is feeding the sky beam to get the dead people back. But it's like, up to this point, all she's been is Nick's focal point of grief and regret, and you don't feel a connection, right? So when Vanessa in Deadpool is, in these precarious situations, we know because we saw the relationship between Deadpool and Vanessa that we felt for them. We did. Here, it's like, okay, girl in underwear gives him a kiss before he goes off on a raid, and next thing you know, he's dead, and he regrets everything that he did. Like, that's all we get of her. That's it. It's not good character development.
Well, yes and no. I mean, you see her as the grieving widow. Mm-hmm. You see her constantly running into this older man who seemed to just be stalking her, who confronts her, while she's on a run late at night, which is kind of creepy. Mm-hmm. But yet there's still that hope that she's going to recognize him and somehow be reconnected, which, was she really dead? I'm now confused by the end because she's...
So basically, Proctor helped out in making sure that she didn't cross over, that she, held on long enough for medical attention to get to her. So, Proctor, as a way to thank Nick, Proctor helped her survive the ordeal.
Which is kind of sad because he's gone and they could have been together.
Yeah.
If she had died.
But to the same token as well, then, moving forward, we now don't care about Julia.
That's harsh.
It's harsh, but tell me I'm wrong on this.
I care. I mean, here's the thing. If she had died and they would have been together in the afterlife or whatever, they would have been together. However, I think there's a certain strength in letting her live.
No, I mean, Nick's redemption is letting her go so she can live and carry on with her life.
Which is lovely.
But it's about Nick. It's not about Julia. It's about Nick. Right? His redemption is this act of sacrifice. If she had died and if they were together, she would have died because of his actions before dying. Because he was a dirty cop. He pulled this heist. He triggered the series of events that would have led to her death. So if she had died and they got together, it's not a happy story. Somewhere in the next 200, centuries, she's going to put two and two together and be real pissed off, and they're going to end up like Roy and Proctor. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. I just put a downer. I'll get you the laughing gas back. That'll pick this one up. But
oh my God.
But you can see now, what critics of this film are going to be looking at and saying, yeah, no, I get it. Like, this character, I don't really care about this character's life or death because it's all about the guy. It's all about Nick.
Now I liked this movie until now. You're really bringing me down, man.
And the funny thing is, normally when we have these conversations, you end up liking the film afterwards. And now it seems to be going the other way when I'm pointing out these movie flaws.
You're really kind of ruining this for me.
Okay, well, let's pick it back up and let's talk about Marissa Miller and James Hong, who were the avatars for Nick and Roy through this.
Yeah, I mean, it was... It was great. I mean, at first I was like, when they kept flipping back and, they're in the R.I.P.D world, they're kind of the in-between. Half the time I didn't know what was going on. But seeing it through to the end, I got it. It was obvious enough. It wasn't, I didn't dwell on the plot holes the same way you did.
I mean, the funny thing about these two, right, is that you have James Hong, who is an actor with a filmography that literally you need one of those like 10-foot long scrolls to get every single movie on.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Okay.
like he's been around a long time. Like,
Well, clearly.
I don't know if his filmography equals that of someone like Christopher Lee, which, if I remember correctly, Christopher Lee has like 250 some odd movie roles on his filmography. Some of them are like, yeah, I showed up for about 2 lines and that's about it. But some of them are like deep roles. James Hong has been around for a long time. So that's why it was a big thing when he was getting a lot of these accolades for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But to see him as the Ryan Reynolds avatar, it's a familiar face too, right? Like, moviegoers are going to say, hey, I know that guy. Even if you don't know his name, you have seen him in so many different films. And then you've got Marissa Miller, right? Victoria's Secret model Marissa Miller, right? One of the most known Victoria's Secret models. And she's been in like a couple different shows. Like,
Is she? I was literally like, okay, tall, sexy blonde. Tall, leggy, sexy blonde.
But the thing is, even if you don't
Anyone
know,
could have played it.
Even if you don't know who it is, the gag still works. You could have put someone like a Cindy Crawford in there. You could have put someone like, say, a Tyra Banks in there. You could have put any model in there, but it worked because the gag worked. And it was fun too. Like, it wasn't just no-namers. These were big names, or at least recognizable people, and it made the gag funnier. Now, we've mentioned a bunch of movies that are like comparables to this. Men in Black, Deadpool. So I'm going to ask you, in your opinion, does the critic score reflect a lot of been there, done that?
Again, I mean, I thought the 12 was a bit low. I showed up today to defend the movie, and then you kind of kicked it down a few notches, and I still don't think it's a 12%er.
Oh, no. Dear
I
God,
really
it's not
don't.
12%.
What was the audience score again?
38.
Okay. I think that's reasonable. I mean, it certainly wasn't a great movie. It's not the one that I'm going to call up 5 friends and say, oh, you got to watch this movie. It's just, it's just not.
Mm-hmm.
But for what it is, I mean, it was fine. It wasn't, again, I'm glad I saw it. It was one of those, Netflix suggests this movie because you've watched whatever else, right?
By the way, if Netflix suggests this movie, I shudder to look at your watch history.
Men in Black.
Right? Yeah. If the "Are you still watching" comes up for this, you're like, this is Netflix going, are you really still watching this film?
You know what? I will say, now that I have my chance at the mic, I think I would have liked to have seen it a little bit more kind of like Ghost, where, the widow was just like grief-stricken. And yet Kevin Bacon as, the family friend, he was, her late husband's partner. Like, yet he was also the cause of Ryan Reynolds' demise. Like, I wanted to see kind of a little bit more of like consoling the grieving widow. There really wasn't much of that.
Yeah.
And it almost kind of felt like, I mean, was she sad? Sure. But
it leaned more into the campy chasing the deados around town as opposed to, focusing on the grief.
I think even that scene where Kevin Bacon stopped by the house, and I mean, the scene after she had the run-in or the interaction with
the Avatar, James Hong?
The Avatar.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was almost kind of like you want to see a little bit more of an emotional reaction, an emotional response. Almost like that she knows that he's there.
Mm-hmm.
It felt cold to me. And I think had it had a little bit more of, the Ghost type of love story, maybe it might have been.
Actually, that whole chin pinch thing, right? if we're going to draw comparisons again here, and by the way, I love that you picked up, I didn't even think about Ghost. So, and there are a lot of parallels with Ghost as opposed to this one. So yeah, brilliant pickup on that. But with the whole chin pinch thing and it being a way for her to almost realize that this might be her husband, this might be Nick. I think back to Face Off with Nick Cage and John Travolta, and the whole thing with running his hand down his daughter's face or down his wife's face, and they do that, but 3 or 4 times in the film before that pivotal "Hey, remember it's me" moment, right? You need to hammer home that this means something between Nick and Julia, so when that moment comes, it means something more. Now, I will point out that Jeff Bridges, apparently on a Reddit AMA, said that the studio chopped this to
I can see that.
Yeah. So I'm going to allow you to pontificate on this movie for a second here. Would you rather see this more like a Deadpool R-rated supernatural superhero comedy action film as opposed to this PG-13 sanitized crap that came out?
I also found it to be long. Now, what was the runtime on it? Do you know?
Surprisingly, an hour and 36 minutes only.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I found it really long, and I was just about to say that maybe that was the cause of, chopping and shortening the movie. But
it needed more time, I think. Now hear me out. Hear me out. It needed more meaningful time as opposed to more campy action time.
Less things go boom.
Exactly.
Or don't rush it. It almost kind of seemed like right after the heist, they went right into the underworld, or things got weird. Mm-hmm. And at that point, there wasn't enough to it was like, what the hell is happening here? And I don't know. I almost felt like they overstayed their welcome, going right into the underworld or the ripped.
I mean, the other thing too is the whole thing starts with Ryan Reynolds' narration, which again feels like a Deadpool type film, but you're spoiling the fact right out the gate that he's dead. Of course, you already kind of knew that probably from the trailers before going in to see the film. But the thing is, you could take that whole teaser out, spend a little bit more time on Nick and Julia, make his death, her mourning, and the chin pinch moment more meaningful. And I mean, I appreciate that in an action film, you need an action beat every X number of pages of script. But you have to make the characters mean something, so when things happen, we feel it, rather than just put a wall of noise on the screen. I do agree with you that this is not a 12% film because there is some amazing cinematography in it. Some of the effects are phenomenal. The whole when Ryan Reynolds actually dies and everything is just still except for him,
frozen, yeah,
right?
That was cool.
There are some really cool, thought out, designed moments in this film that really show A, where the money went, but B, I mean, it's a comic book film. I get it. It's going to be noisy. It should be noisy, but even in the noisiest of comic book films, the best ones still make you feel for every character, every main character. This could have been done better. Now, believe it or not, there is an R.I.P.D. 2.
Oh?
Right? Now, there's no official tomatometer on this film. It only has 4 critic reviews, and 2 of them are like 1 out of 4 and 1 out of 5, so it's not going to be that good. The audience score is actually lower, and no one involved with the first film is involved in the second.
Oh?
Yeah. Now, it's supposed to be a prequel, so it's probably the story of Roy. But, yeah. Did anyone ask for this?
So Ryan Reynolds is not.
Ryan Reynolds is not in. Jeff Bridges is not in. The director is not in. It's not even the same writers. Like, this is literally like this is like when Dumb and Dumber had the prequel and didn't have any of the cast from the first one involved in the second one. Yeah. This is, I mean, I get it's still set in that world. It's the story. This is the story of Roy during the Wild West times, but I don't know. And it's, if you're in Canada, it's available to be watched. If I remember correctly, it might be on Crave. I can't remember which one it's on, but it's out there. It's out there, and it's not as well received by the audience.
Fascinating.
Right?
I almost want to invest 2 hours of my precious time.
Yeah, you got to question, right? Like, and I do appreciate, right, that comic book movies, despite all the talk of comic book movie fatigue, quote unquote, they still can make good bank. But this didn't even touch the theaters, R.I.P.D. 2. So I don't know who they're making it for. But I'll be curious. Maybe we'll go down that road after we've, let this one kind of digest a little bit. Before we get to our MVPs, though, Twitter has spoken out on this one. Brian Coburn, our good friend, has chimed in with what's not to love. It's Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges being, Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges. It's a campier version of Men in Black, essentially. I enjoyed it. And you know what? If you go in not expecting a think piece, not overanalyzing it some Canadian idiot in a basement with a microphone like I am, then you can have a good time with it. And it does have a good cast, and it does have some good laughs. I will admit.
I think I absolutely agree with the word campy. Mm-hmm. So perfect.
Yeah.
Like, that is the best way to describe this movie.
Yeah.
Just campy.
Just don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Go for the noise.
Go for the fun.
Sometimes people want a big, noisy, fun film.
And that's the thing, is you really cannot take, you shouldn't take most movies seriously, but a comic book movie, come on, you have to expect that you're going to go and put your brain on vacation and suspend any form of, disbelief, especially in gravity and physics.
Physics be damned.
Physics went out the window with Ryan Smith and
Ryan Reynolds.
Who's Ryan Smith?
Ryan Smith is a hockey player.
Okay, well, him too, out the window with Ryan Reynolds.
Former Edmonton Oilers captain Ryan Smith. That is the first time and probably the only time I'll ever see you drop a hockey reference, even by accident, on the podcast.
Who the f*** is Ryan Smith?
Someone gave you Sam Elliott's laughing gas, and this is what we have right now.
And I haven't come back since.
Oh, dear God. So who is your MVP of R.I.P.D? I've run out of acronyms now.
Well, the
MVP.
MVP, my VIP of R.I.P.D is Mr. J.B. Jeff Bridges.
You know what's funny? He's my MVP too, although it was close because it was almost Mary Louise Parker.
I was thinking about her too, and I'm like, no, you know what? He played it so well, and in spite of the the poorly done accent, it was. But I think that was part of it, right? It was just like, yeah.
I mean, it is. It's over the top. It's campy. Jeff Bridges understood the assignment.
Sam Elliott on laughing gas. I love it.
Oh, we broke Carrie. You do realize we may now have to do a Sam Elliott film next.
I'm down for that.
We'll see. We'll see what was on the list. Until next time, guys. You guys know the drill. If there's a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is just so bad that there's no way in heck that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on Twitter at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at NotThatBadCast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out our coming soon page so you can see some of the movies that we are creeping up on, including some of the films that we have coming up for our 2-year anniversary and 100th episode, which is very quickly arriving. Until next time, Carrie, you are lovely as always. Audience, so are you guys. You're lovely too. Until next time, I'm Jay. She's Carrie. This is It's Not That Bad. Take care.
Hey folks, Stefan Shirazi and Renee Richardson here from the Metallica Report.
And we are proud members of the Pantheon podcast family, where the best of music and podcasts unite.
We've got something pretty cool for you. We're giving away an exclusive Metallica merch package worth over $250.
That's a whole lot of Scary Guys, Skulls, M72, and other sought-after Metallica swag. And we've made it easy for you to win. Follow and share the Metallica Report, and you're in the game. Go to pantheonpodcast.com/Metallica, enter your email, and hit that button to be entered to win.
And just like that, you're eligible for our monthly exclusive Metallica merch package.
And guess what, rockers? You can enter every month, so just do it. And while we love our global brothers and sisters, the lawyers won't let us ship outside the U.S.